shock, I think, is an understatement this morning. I know that you've interviewed Rob Reiner as recently as September. What was he like? What are your thoughts this morning?
It was a lovely interview. We were talking about the sequel to his movie, This is Spinal Tap. We talked about a book that he was writing, and he was really playful in the interview. He told me stories about his early days as a performer, performing improv comedy in San Francisco, and Janis Joplin got up on stage and tried to do improv comedy with them. And I said, was Janis Joplin funny? And he just had this really lovely look on his face, and he's like, no, she could sing, but she was not funny. And we went on, and he regaled me with stories like that from this incredible life that he's had and that he had led as a performer on All in the Family. You can't overestimate or overstate how important that show was on television. 45 to 48 million people watched it every single week for almost its entire run on television. And then to go from a huge success like that on television to then go to make this incredible string of films. He co-founded a company called Castle Rock, and with Castle Rock made movies like Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, and A Few Good Men, all in the span of 5 years. That's an incredible run by anyone's standards. And of course went on to make lots of more movies after that. But really a guy who loved show business, who loved telling stories, and whether it was in person telling me about Janis Joplin or whatever it might have been, or telling a big story on the big screen, he was really, truly kind of one of a kind.
He made such a huge mark on television and cinema. How do you even begin to reflect or sum up his contribution?
It's very difficult to look at the body of work that he left behind because there's no real through line to it all. He made so many different kinds of movies, worked with Stephen King on Misery and Stand By Me, for instance, and ended up making big hit movies out of both of those stories. And Stephen King wrote today, rest in peace, Rob, you always stood by me. You've got The Princess Bride, which is this lovely fantasy story for the entire family. And I love what he says about it. He said, we all know the story of The Princess Bride, but he said what it's actually about is a grandfather telling his grandson that the most important thing in the world is love. And I think that's a really lovely message to put out into the world through your art, particularly, at times when I think there's a little bit too less or there's not enough love in the world. And Rob Reiner was about putting it out into the world.
I don't know what your favorite Reiner film was. I think in terms of cultural impact, one of them has to be When Harry Met Sally. People still recite lines from that movie. We still see takeoffs in commercials. Richard, for you, was there a favorite movie, something that he wrote or directed or starred in?
Well, my wife and I, go see When Harry Met Sally every New Year's Eve. And we time it so that we can get out before midnight to get home, before all the wild stuff happens at the movie theaters. But he told me, because I told him that, and Rob Reiner said, well, if you start the movie at 10:30, the New Year's Eve scene happens at midnight, and so you can celebrate along with Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. I love in that movie, too, the I'll have what she's having line. And that was Estelle, who was his mother in real life, playing that part. And that was a line that he suggested to her on the set. It wasn't in the script. And that is the line and the scene that I think of over and over again, of just being this perfectly executed comedic bit with just such a great kicker. That last line is such a great kicker that it is, I think, my favorite bit of his work.
Richard Crouse, thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. I might start that tradition, too, watching When
You
Harry
can come
Met.
with us. It's super fun.
I don't know if your preferred movie companion would appreciate. Three could be a crowd, Richard. Good to see you this morning, my friend. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.